Welcome back to Total Disclosure, everybody. This is our new weekly show called Revamped, where we break down all of the latest and greatest stories from around the community. I have a wonderful, wonderful person sitting backstage waiting to come on. But before we do all that, guys, I do want to say that our sponsor, Adentia Herbals, sent me a bottle to give away. This is so anyone who shares tonight's show leaves a comment and I don't know, subscribes and screenshots it and sends it to me. I'll send it to. So it's Performance Mushrooms. It's a dietary supplement or supplement. It's a 9-in-1 that has ashwagandha, all natural ingredients. Even the capsules made of rice, completely, like I said, all organic, gluten free, vegan, all that. And it has changed my life. It's given me a drive I've never had before, and it's just a product that I use on a daily basis now. But what we're here for tonight is a new show, and I'm trying to bring something new to the community. I'm gonna keep this very short and sweet. I think we need more on the nose, just the facts, no bias, no one side or the other. We need more of that. And that is what I'm going to set out to do. And I'm going to do that by bringing on guests for certain segments. But mostly I'm going to be doing the show alone, guys. And it's just going to be me and kind of going through the biggest stories and kind of fleshing things out and engaging with you, the audience, because I feel like with TDP lately, we've been lacking in that area. So it's going to be really fun to see where this thing can go. Hopefully, eventually we can do some call-ins, but the sky is the limit. Tonight, we have probably the biggest show. It's funny because we're coming out of the gate with like probably the biggest show that I've done in a while. We have so much to talk about tonight, including some weird stories from around the community. We're going to start it with that. But before that, I want to bring in the new producer of Need to Know with Ross Coulthart and Bryce Mother Zabel, baby. Astral, congratulations.
Yo, what's up, Ty? Appreciate it, dude. Yeah, exciting, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
You've become everything that you meant to be, and you're just beginning that path, man. You only contribute positivity to the community, to everybody around you, and you very much earn this with not just that, but your quality of work as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. And
So
it all started really in Roswell with just me meeting Bryce and networking my way onto, opportunities and, collaborating with people like yourself and, others. So it's been real enjoyment to just work with a lot of more people.
yeah, and you said that happened just by so that's like, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that is what happens when you network, is you gain these opportunities that you wouldn't
Yep.
if you had just sat silent. So next time you're thinking of not walking over to someone and introducing yourself, don't think about it. Walk over, introduce yourself,
Yep.
firmly shake their hand and say, you're the best, I'm the best decision that whatever, do the Tom Brady thing. Who cares?
I just
But
said, hey, I love your podcast. Do you need any help?
and he was
And
like,
he was like,
actually,
yes, I absolutely.
he's like, actually, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But so does the British lady now say produced by
No,
Tyler? Or
not
is it
yet. No,
yeah, no?
that's just like an intro sound clip. But
Oh, where
yeah,
okay,
I've got to
okay.
get like a new one. Like so I have a lot of I had a lot of sort of creative freedom to be able to make some more clips and add some different aspects of the show that might just improve it. I'm not trying to change it at all, for sure. I'm just trying to like first fill in and make sure that it
Make it
goes as
better.
smoothly as it was before. And then maybe I can sort of add a little bit more in terms of graphic design and video production to it as it goes.
Yeah, because I think it's not that I'm not like crapping on the producer, but I think it was a very basically edited show.
Hmm.
If I'm not wrong, it looked like they were editing on iMovie.
Yeah,
Um,
Bryce was.
so yeah, yeah. So I mean, I edit with Adobe and
Same.
Filmora. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like we shouldn't we're using these tools. They shouldn't be using iMovie. But guys, we get our first segment of the night, and that is Danger Stories from Around the Community. Now, so what we found was that it was going to be really fun. And, a lot of the topics that we cover here on these kind of shows, they can be very heavy. And I figured that we would start the show with a couple weird news stories, anomalous sightings, and some stuff that's been just happened recently. And I did get both of these from Coast to Coast. So for the first one, it was April 29th, 2024. An Argentinian sailor was left feeling perplexed after a peculiar blinding illumination is seen emanating Argentina's prominent La La Hotel. Recently, the lavish resort um, where he was recently hosted. Argentine President Javier Milei, sorry if I'm getting these names wrong, the sailor is no stranger to those waters and claims this was an eerie sight with no logical explanation as the sun was covered by a cloud. Now, it's kind of weird because when I was filming, because we have the video of the sighting, when and my girlfriend is somewhere here, I'm sure, watching, and she can confirm that when we were filming our remote, so this ad read. So you can see I'm on a lake, and I we had a very I we had a very similar situation. I'm gonna get to it, but I want to finish this. So the president had recently stayed there, and the sighting occurred right around that same time. Coincidence or not? I don't know. Of course, uh, it, he alleges that the light could be viewed from various angles. Its intensity was very impressive, and that there's no part of the hotel that could account for the anomalous light, i.e., refraction,
Mhm.
or prosaic explanations, leading him to believe and to suggest that the event was a true anomalous phenomena. And the video's right here, guys. Uh, and I mean, listen, it's an orb, right? It's an orb, and it's an it's a ball of light, right? And it's one guy's story. But I, the reason I picked this one is because, again, Jess, I know she can back me up on this. She was there. We were filming that Adentia Herbals ad, and from across the lake, I saw a blinding orb. I kid you not, looked exactly the same as the one you just saw. And I have video of it. I took 7 minutes, several minutes of video of this thing. And guess what, Ty? Guess what? When we went back to review the footage, only 1 second was remained. All of it was gone from my phone. And she was
What?
there. She watched me hit record, and I was talking during it. I
Hmm.
You know me. I was filming an ad. I had all my cameras with me. I all of a sudden this light was so bright that when you looked at it, my tears were coming down my eyes, and she saw them, and she was looking at this thing right there with me, and she was like, this thing, like it had no, it was in the middle of the woods. It was in the,
Yeah.
and so I have video, that 1 second of video I'm about to show you. That's it.
Damn.
You probably blinked and missed it. That's how quick. Now, I am so I'm I'm only playing it again because I need everyone to see it. That I took 7 to 8 minutes of video of this thing, and that's all that we reviewed the footage. All the other footage was there, but that footage specifically of that orb through the tree line across the lake, I only had 1 second. So now all I have is a story in my
Yeah.
word, right? And it's like the phenomena plays tricks on us,
Yeah, that's
and and it
wild.
and it and it messes with us. So the next one is the flying humanoid. This one's even crazier, guys. So on May 1st, 2024 in Turkey, a shepherd looked up at the sky, and shout out to Jess because she put these blurbs together for me because I was working on the other topics. Um, and a shepherd looked up at the sky and saw what appeared to be a flying humanoid while his sheep were grazing in the pasture. He managed to capture this on camera, exclaiming that this anomaly resembled a dark figure with fully formed limbs. We have the video, right? The shepherd was able to follow the body in the air for about a minute before it disappeared from his view. He claims he was excited to see this object and it should be investigated. Could this have been logically explained, or is it simply just fucking otherworldly? You guys be the
Varto
judge.
Küçüktepe köyünde akşam saat 5:30 sıralarında ben hayvanları otlatırken havadan aniden bir cismin ortaya çıktığını ben fark ettim. Bu cisim insan şeklinde siyah bir şeydi.
What do you
Tabii
guys
cismi
think?
görmez biraz heyecanlandım. Bu cismi insanlar görsün diye, insanlar duysun diye videosunu çektim. Cisim yaklaşık 1 dakika falan.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think? That was
Initially, it looks like a balloon, but then it doesn't, like, really shift at all if it was very because it looks like it's traveling a little bit.
right,
So, I feel like a balloon would be shifting, and you'd be able to, like, have it and it almost like it could coordinated rotated just for like, it shifted its rotation, and then it just kept on its path, so it's
right.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely some weird stories from across the spectrum. But so you're here tonight for the story, and it's a heavy one. It's dude, this could be the the not only the key to disclosure, but really something that breaks the camel's back, the
Mm.
straw that breaks the camel's back. So we'll be right back. So the Fugal feud, the Fugal AARO meeting that we all know about now. Ty, Astral, can you talk to me about what is going on in what I took a couple weeks break and from everything. This means because I'd wrapped filming for Dudley Road. I took a couple. I needed a break. I was wearing myself way too thin. Um, what is going on here? Because I know there were hints of this meeting
Yeah.
at Arrow between Fugal and Arrow, but all of a sudden the story's now blown up.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's
what's going on?
a lot of it, I think, is because of the involvement of Kirkpatrick and the question of his capacity at which he was at the meeting. And so what we're kind of sifting through right now as a community is, what was said at that meeting because there's been some recent interviews with Brandon Fugal and also Sean Kirkpatrick, and they both point to this sort of meeting that occurred. And I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of different accounts of what was taking place at that meeting. And so, just to kind of set it so I have not been really that critical of Sean Kirkpatrick because I just think that his scientific approach to it and the gathering of the data is one aspect that we need.
It
However, on the
is.
other side, with the whistleblowers, I think there's been a lot more controversy in what the whistleblowers have been coming forward and saying, and then also Kirkpatrick's opinions and his involvement in UFOs before he got to AARO. So this is the first time where it's actually addressed where Kirkpatrick was, according to Brandon Fugal, involved in UFOs. And the big statement for me, the thing, and man, this is just, it's like a chink in an armor, and that this could, like you were saying, this could blow the whole thing wide open. And because according to Fugal, Kirkpatrick stood up, that Fugal was there to give a presentation about Skinwalker Ranch. And according to Fugal, during that presentation, right when it got started, somebody stood up and they said, if you're going to talk about the UFO phenomenon, you don't need to do that because everybody in this room acknowledges it as being real. Steve Greenstreet says that his sources say that Kirkpatrick was the one who said that. So if we have evidence of Kirkpatrick saying that, to me, it just debunks his whole a lot of AARO and a lot of what he's been saying, where there's no evidence. He hasn't been interested in this. It's a nothing burger. And so I think this is the first time where people have actual evidence. And so Fugal shared the picture when Kirkpatrick had his interview a couple days later, which was a couple days ago. Fugal shared a couple of pictures of Kirkpatrick at the meeting. And so you could see that, you know, there's a presentation being given. There's figures like Hal Puthoff, Kit Green were there, Fugal. And so the one thing that I was sort of, you know, getting to Brandon Fugal about was he mentioned a video, the full video of the meeting. And so I think what I'd still like to see is the release of that video, because it would show, because to me the picture doesn't show the capacity at which Kirkpatrick was actually there. So we don't know that Kirkpatrick was interested in UFOs. We just know that he was there. And if you listen to Kirkpatrick's interview, he acknowledges that he was there. He said, yeah, I was there at a meeting, but it was for like a continuation of ATIP and OSAP, which makes sense to me because ATIP basically was ended around like 2012. And so to me, ATIP was under Bigelow. Hal Puthoff ended up facilitating the sale of Skinwalker Ranch to Brandon Fugal. So to me, if we're looking at 2018, this was probably a pitch to have a continuation of the program, of like a program like Kona Blue, which got denied, but down the road of this another program to look at Skinwalker Ranch. So I would imagine Fugal he was like, okay, I've got Skinwalker Ranch now. I've got all this new equipment. Maybe we can go back and have, you know, a little bit of assistance in a program that actually looks at this again. And I think this was that pitch to basically show these guys that like there's some stuff taking place. And so I think on the other side of the table, they probably brought in Kirkpatrick to be like, hey man, like you are very familiar with like Chinese tech and you know, stuff that's going on that's that you've looked at in the skies with in terms of drones. Maybe you can sit in on this meeting and see. What I think is disputed is that Kirkpatrick wanted to sit in the meeting. He knew about UFOs. He was coming to debunk it. All that is not clear with just those pictures. I think if the video were released, that would be the smoking gun to discard AARO, to discard Kirkpatrick, because if he stands up in that meeting and he says, hold on, guys, all of this is real. We acknowledge it. That's it.
Right.
You know
Like,
what I'm saying?
so, dude, because this dude has been on a rampage lately, going on various media saying that there's nothing to this. Essentially, backing himself into a Project Blue Book 2.0 corner. And if there's if in a meeting, this dude stood up and said, "Listen, you don't need to convince us that UFOs exist. We already know they do." Then this guy is ousted and AARO is ousted, which means the DOD is ousted, which means the Pentagon is ousted, which means the White House is ousted. That if this video surfaces, it could lead to that watershed moment This is important. And Brandon has an obligation.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling on Brandon to do anything illegal. I'm not. But I'm saying that if he wants his show and all of his research to be taken seriously, then he needs to show the community that his word can be taken at value. Because if it wasn't said and it's just going to be he said, she said, this whole game, then
Yeah.
everybody is going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because there's plausible deniability. It's just another story.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that frustrated me is like UFO Twitter's like spiking the ball like a touchdown dance. Like like everything is done now, and Kirkpatrick's a liar and da da da. Da. Well, he I think probably lied a little bit, but to me, the big reveal would be that video. And I even suggested like you don't even have to release the whole video, just crop out
Yeah,
Kirkpatrick
just
in
that
that
part.
10-second part and release that, because I think Fugal didn't want and doesn't want to put the other people in the meeting out there like that. So just clip that part and then show that part of Kirkpatrick saying this stuff. And so that's what I think. That's why I was kind of pressing him uh, publicly on Twitter. I was like, dude, like just release the video. Like that would do so much more. And I think people are like, well, we don't need the video. And we've already seen he's a liar. And I just don't think that's like, we're not going to be talking about these pictures next week because they're not that powerful to me.
To me, they are. I think this story is among one of the most powerful because it has the be, be, because of the stance and the formidable for I don't know if this is a word, how formidable Kirkpatrick has been,
Yeah.
saying and trying to convince the general population that there is nothing to this, that they found no evidence of anything of relevance. But I do want to get your take on something else. The Grush emails with Arrow. Because there seems to be a lot of communication issues with Arrow.
Yeah. So in terms of when Arrow was reaching out to Grush and he was sort of saying they weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the last year, I think that's been one of the most confusing parts is what Grush has been saying about communication from Arrow, and then Arrow's basically come out. They've even released like signal chats. So they released the signal chats where they were reaching out to Grush on multiple occasions. And I think I'm not sure exactly what Grush has said in terms of the exact reason why he wasn't able to respond, but there was even like I believe a meeting that was set up with Gillibrand that he was supposed to just show up at, and he didn't show up. And then on the other side, I think Grush was looking at it like they don't have access. Grush seems to believe that the Arrow just doesn't have the access to be
So
able to
why
look up his
bother?
claims. So why go through and have the historical report say it's all bullshit?
Right. So again, in a sense, kind of being like, you don't need, because I mean, he did in some of his email, in the one email that, and you can see his response, or he's saying, until you answer my questions, I'm not meeting.
Yeah.
So he clearly wanted some type of information that they weren't giving, and it seems from there that the relationship just kind of either crumbled, or Grush lost faith in the entire Arrow system, much like everybody else.
Yeah, and you can see just from like the whistleblowers now, they're not going to Arrow. I was a co-host in the Twitter space where Jason Sands came out. And so
Yeah,
and
man.
just on Reddit today, there was another quote unquote whistleblower who revealed a lot of.
Oh, I
It
heard.
was an anonymous account, so it's not really I don't know how credible it would be because nothing was really revealed in terms of identity or programs. I think, but they're looking for ways. Some of these guys want to come out and come public, and they're not willing to just wait around for controlled disclosure to kind of figure it out for them. They're really, and I think it's valuable to be able to directly communicate with the community, and the community dig into some of these claims, and not just
Yeah.
waiting for other people, higher ups, to sort of tell us what's going on. I think we've got a huge group of great researchers and people to look into this.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying lately is I think that the disclosure might actually come from civilian scientists
Mm.
and researchers before it comes from any government official. And I truly think that very well could be the case. Now, with Arrow and this meeting in particular with Skinwalker Ranch owner Brandon Fugal, um, is the tape classified?
No, and it's not. It wasn't Arrow that he met with. It was a group of staffers.
Oh,
I
I'm
don't know if they
sorry.
were with the DoD, but it wasn't. Arrow hadn't been formed yet. This was sort of before Arrow. This was before few years before the UAP task force was formed. So this
Oh,
was
so this is in like the Jay Stratton days.
this is after. So ATIP in 2012, OSAP ATIP was known to like end around that time. And in my opinion, what was happening in those like 6
Okay,
years or so,
that's back to what you were saying where it
they were
was a
trying to
fit.
they're trying to pitch these new programs because they didn't get like OSAP and ATIP didn't get weren't getting funding anymore. So they were probably like, okay, they've sort of maybe exhausted what they wanted or got from Skinwalker Ranch. And that's why I think Bigelow was in part selling the ranch. So in that couple of years was the sale of the ranch to Fugal. And so now Fugal's got the ranch, and Hal Putoff is probably all involved in like, hey man, there's probably still some life in there. Like you could probably pitch the program again, pitch the ranch. You've got all of this new money coming in. You want to really study it in terms of collecting data. And I think that was in 2018 a pitch to sort of be like, hey, come back here. This could be part of another program to study the phenomenon. We've, even a slide was up there with like unidentified objects that were pictured. So I think that a lot of it is played out. And then the UAP task force came. Travis Taylor was head of the lead scientist of UAP task force. So there's a lot of connections in there,
Right. Right. And Travis Taylor, plays a huge role. And so doesn't Jay Stratton. And with Skinwalker Ranch, and this, why do you think the government is so heavily interested in Skinwalker Ranch specifically?
I don't think they are anymore.
Not
I
anymore.
just because no program has been funded again. I think that Fugal, this is just my personal opinion. I have no idea. And this would be great to ask Fugal
Right.
is like, okay, you went into the meeting. What type of meeting was this like a pitch to get a program? And then because it wasn't funded, did he just start the show instead? Like I'm
Right.
gathering all this
Right.
data. I'm doing all this stuff. I can't get funding from the government. Maybe I'll just make this into a show and then kind of release what I find during this publicly, sort of that in that way. I think a lot of the appeal and interest in Skinwalker Ranch is from the public and the community, but I'm not sure so much of the government, although I'm sure they're still keeping their tabs on it,
Hence, like I
And
mean,
the eminent domain. Remember in the UAPDA, Fugal and Taylor publicly came out and said, we're not going to support this. We don't want the government coming into Skinwalker and just grabbing stuff. So that's
right.
another motivation for it too. Maybe he doesn't even
Well,
want it.
yeah, well, I think a lot of people were against eminent domain.
Yeah.
Even people like Jacques Vallée, who, stood up at Saul conference and
Yep.
said, like, where does it stop? Where would that stop? Could the government just walk into his house and take the materials that he has
Yeah.
and has had for years? And I think that eminent domain is really um, what failed the passing of that act. But I mean, do you see any hope for it in the future
I think one of the things
without
that
eminent domain?
I think one of the things that the community and activists wanted the most was that presidential panel, like the panel that can
A
review a
review
lot of these
board.
cases.
Yep.
Yeah, the review board. So I think that if that's included, that would be really big. Eminent domain. I'm not really sure about the reach that would do or how that would affect other people. I'm sure a lot of people like Valet and Fugal that have maybe some of these materials. But again, like we want to see that. Like if
Right.
they're not really even releasing it publicly. So it's kind of frustrating. It's like these guys have it, they're just not even releasing it still. They're scared that someone's going to come take it. It's like, well, we don't even know anything as the public.
Right.
So
Right. And kind of just leaves us in the dark and they wonder why we speculate.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
They it's like they wonder why we fucking speculate. It's because we're in the dark on everything. Jesus. Um, my God. But listen, I want to get you were there the night that so you were there the night that Sands come out.
sure.
And I want to talk to you about it. Um, do you think you did a great job, by the way, hosting that? I
Thanks.
will say.
Yeah.
I
Was not
covered it on
expected, bro. Like it just
yeah.
came out of the blue.
Yeah, and this topic is unexpected. I didn't even think I was gonna bring it up. Um, but I wanna bring it up because I don't know when the next time you'll be able to be on the show is.
Mhm.
So you were on that panel. I mean, you hosted that Twitter Spaces. What did you take away from his testimony? Do you think he's legit? And do you think any connotation with this 20 and back program, even though he has clarified since then about what he was referring to, do you think any connotation towards that 20 and back program and the baggage that it holds will damper this man's endeavors?
I think initially it has because it was brought up a few times and he answered it, but for the space itself, like it was so spontaneous of him coming up that it was just weird in the space that he decided to show up at because everybody was just kind of bullshitting. One of the things though is people were kind of like speculating on what he was like. Nobody knew who Jason Sands really was, and so we were just discussing on like, oh, in the James Fox documentary, like I wonder what this whistleblower is going to say, and like
Right.
there were a little bit of spaces and some podcasts that sort of like were mentioning him and then getting kind of shut down media wise. Spaced Out Radio was one. And so like people are starting to speculate and talk about him. And I think he just got to where a point where like imagine you being in a space and everybody's like talking shit about you. And like
Right.
you'd want to come up and be like, listen, guys, like you guys got it all wrong. I think he wanted to do that quickly, and then it turned into this historic space because
Right.
somebody just asked a question like, "Wait, are you the whistleblower from James Fox documentary?" And he's like, "Yeah," and everybody's like, "Wait, what?" And
Wait, what?
so then I had to be like, skirt, okay, host mode because I was co-hosting the space, so I went from like wanting to ask questions to like managing the room, and it got where there was like 500 or so. There's like 1,000 people in the room, 30 requests were going on. So
All
it's
at
trying to like
once.
managing, yeah,
Yeah. And you did a great job with getting people and their questions in and yeah, man. What a I like and it's obviously obviously the just that space was not recorded. And, like,
yeah,
of course, that night,
yeah,
that one time, it's not recorded.
right.
And no there's no playback on it. And it was on 420, uh, and, like, the stars aligned, I guess, for Mr. Sands 'cause, he just came out and just fucking blew everyone's minds. But, I I
But just imagine,
I
bro. Imagine it like you've been on spaces.
yeah,
Now, imagine that you're the focus of 6 hours and you've never been on a Twitter space before, ever up speaking. And all of a sudden you're just thrusted and everything that you say is now under a microscope. And so he said a few things, the 20 and back. I kind of forget the other ones that were controversial, but that's one of the main ones. And I think that like the community just like
the secret space
discounting,
program in general.
yeah, just discounting everything that he said because he answered in a way where, he acknowledged that like he was part of some program, and then it kind of got associated with this 20 and back Corey Good program, which he's
Yeah.
come out and sort of clarified this, like that's not really what he was talking about. So I think most of the community now, the bigger picture that I see from this is that now the community has had experience directly asking questions, and some tough questions, to whistleblowers, and then us being able to research and flush out that information. And what I think frustrated some people higher up, like James Fox, maybe Leslie Keene, Chris Mellon,
Was
controlled disclosure folks, was
was
that he did that, was
that
that he
he
came
did.
out on a space, and that he was supposed to just chill until James Fox documentary. And then instead he came out and basically said more probably than we're going to hear in the James Fox documentary, including his personal experience with the blue aliens. So it's kind of like
Well, so
people were
so
like, whoa.
so so that is, uh, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because there's been a lot of confusion about that aspect, because again, it was not recorded,
Yeah.
and you can't find it. So can you do me one favor and recount, and to your best ability, recount his story about the blue alien? And I think I know he said that in the space, like, he texted James Fox, and James Fox, there's nothing really James can do about it.
Yeah.
Pending an NDA, which I doubt that the NDA went as far as you can't tell your story ever to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just wouldn't work that way. And I definitely think that like you said, the controlled disclosure people like James, especially James, because he has a lot of vested interest
Yeah.
you know, in this, as well as Leslie, my season finale guest, oh my God. I can't believe
Was it
I
Ralph
can't believe
Blumenthal?
no, I cannot believe I just did that. So my season finale guest is Danny Sheehan,
Oh,
and,
yeah, nice.
um, yeah, I can't believe I forgot his name. I'm gonna edit that out, definitely. Oh shit, this is live. Forgot, joke's on me. But, yeah, so I'm definitely gonna talk to Mr. Sheehan about it. But can you tell me the story about the blue alien? Because I couldn't get that.
Yeah, and I think that if to me, I think the James Fox, it's sort of split up in two different things. His experience and knowledge of the program, this like crash retrieval secret program, and then what's separate from his experience with these extraterrestrials or non-human intelligence. So I think a lot of James Fox documentary to me will probably be focused on his involvement in that program of basically like gathering information about these crash retrievals within it, and less about like he's an experiencer. That's just my opinion. But
Right.
for the experience, he was given direction from some authority to go on this trip, and he was given specific directions not to go to this certain place, to go by this certain area. And him, and I believe he was with one other or two other people, went to this place. They were like, like
Yeah,
somebody
whatever,
tells you
yeah.
don't to go there, you're like,
Yeah,
ah.
first place I'm going.
So they go there, and all of a sudden there's this blue, uh, non-human, like alien, and they ask him like, can they have a part? Like they're looking for this part. They need to fix their ship, I believe is the story. It's a little bit hazy for exactly what he said, but I can share too his account of it. But basically they were looking for this part, and he was like, well, you probably need to go over to Area 51 and talk with those guys. And the alien said, no, we can't go there. They hurt aliens or something like that. It's something to that effect. And so that was sort of like their exchange
Again, you're
that they had.
paraphrasing just for
Yeah.
everybody watching.
Yep. No, yeah,
Okay.
it's not fresh in my memory, but that was kind of like the gist of what happened. They sell a physical being. The being needed help with repairing their ship, which is weird that they would like come ask us. It's like, what are we gonna do? Like, yeah, let me
Right.
get my transistors out and
Hold on. Yeah, I
you know.
got my alien tech in the garage over here. Hold on. 1 minute. I'll be right back. Got my alien screwdriver.
But the alien or the Area 51 thing comment is interesting when they're like, no, we ain't going over to Area 51. Like that's
How
dangerous for
close
us.
were they to Area 51 where that
I'm
would
not
even
sure.
be like a point they point
Yeah,
out?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
So that's an interesting aspect. Was he out in the desert, and went somewhere in the desert where you shouldn't go,
Yep.
you know? And who knows? I'm just saying, again, speculation, but it is what it is. But yeah, man, I can't be more congratulatory towards you and what you're gonna achieve with Need to Know.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited, dude.
I'm so excited to see what you do with the show and how you progress it and how each episode gets better, and with your help I know it will. So I mean, feel free to stick around for the rest of the show, man. But we're gonna cover some stuff here. So there are so did you hear, if you are gonna stick around, we'll
Yeah, I'll
be
stick around for
right.
a little bit for like 10 or 15 minutes if that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, so we'll be right back, guys. All right, so Michael Herrera came on the podcast. And actually, you know what? Let's go with the directed energy weapons because you're here. In the Michael Herrera thing, I think I think I'll do that part alone just
Cool.
because. But I want to play a quick video, 2 quick videos, and then we're gonna talk, because it has to do with you and it makes more sense, because it has to do with Ross Coulthart and directed energy weapons.
Not too long back, where he actually speculated that the United States and other nations may have directed energy weapons. Now, can you comment? Does the US have secret DEW weaponry, and is any of that positioned on satellites in space?
No, I can't comment with regard to U.S. force capabilities, Ross. I'm sure you can, and your viewers can understand why. But with regard to the capabilities that we have, it's very important that we have a full range and a full complement of capabilities to deal with any adversarial actions as they might unfold.
If we did have directed energy weapons in space, would that be a breach of the Outer Space Treaty?
Again, I can't comment with regard to what we do. I know that the United States has been very diligent in complying with its treaty obligations.
Right. So one of the other things that when I was doing my research was pointed out to me, there was some indignance from commentators that there might be a position taken by the US that it's wrong for nations to test anti-satellite weaponry, because the grim reality, isn't it, is that if we do end up having a nuclear confrontation, a thermonuclear war, isn't the most easy way of knocking out a potential adversary's ICBMs to use an electromagnetic pulse weapon in orbit? And hasn't the US tested such a weapon right back to the 1950s, eventuating in the Starfish prime tests that took place out of Johnson Atoll in the 1960s?
Well, again, Ross, with regard to U.S. compliance with its own treaties, I think we have a superb record. I wasn't even born in the 1950s, so going back that far. But I would tell you that the U.S. takes its treaty obligations very seriously. and has promoted the peaceful use of space for decades. And it's a responsibility of all spacefaring nations to do the same.
But can I just?
So that was it wasn't a UFO interview, but Ross is talking to someone about the satellite systems and our vulnerabilities, basically. And then
You're correct. These are very covert weapons, aren't they? That's correct. Entry or exit move. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imaginary. And you guys also said that these attacks are happening right here in this city. Is that correct?
I mean, there have been some that have gone public with respect to Washington, D.C.
I think it was Mr. Grozev said you spoke to a Russian agent who said that they believe that Americans are using the same weapons on them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Might that have something to do with part of the CIA's motive to cover up the existence of this tech and these weapons?
That is a very logical
this is days ago, by the way.
Someone yields.
Admitting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. Mr.
Grozev, I want to follow up a little bit on the interactions you've had with Russian intelligence about these AHIs. And Mr. Zaid, I want to ask, this is a hypothetical, but I'm trying to understand why our government would try to block information sharing or conceal information that they have. And one thing that comes to mind is whether there's an operational risk to revealing any of the details of their investigations. Is that something that you have come across in any of your work?
There's a lot of reasons why the information might not be publicly released. And I do think that's something we could address more in a classified environment to explain that. But there are understandable reasons why the U.S. government has not revealed much of what it knows.
There's some long-term things that needs to be done in terms of new acts. But in the short term, we need to do things like implement the original Havana Act. DoD still hasn't done it. They still have not implemented the Havana Act. And we need a VA diagnostic code. Thanks to the VFW brothers and sisters that are here today and for your meeting earlier, we don't have a VA diagnostic code for the 500-some DoD survivors. How are they going to get long-term care and disability without that?
Well, I hope this issue you see in a room that is often contentious, explosive, volcanic, that you've got members on both sides who first honor and salute the victims and want to do everything we can to make sure that they're made whole, and if they can return, we can return. And of course, as the victims have wanted to do, make sure we do everything possible to prevent anyone else from suffering from this. I yield back. Thank you, Chair.
So,
damn,
the government admitted not only direct energy weapon existence, but the Havana syndrome.
That it's being used on the public, man.
It's hold on, where's my, that's not it. Nope, there it is. On the public, man. On the public. Like, what? And you know, you can see in the demeanor of the video with Ross that this official gets very obviously, he goes into like the grush mode is what I call it now, is the I can't reveal that under these circumstances. And I think we all know that these direct energy weapons exist. And what's your take on the existence of these things? And I mean, I just did a podcast with Eric Hecker. I know he's a very controversial figure in the community, but I felt the need to at least give him his time to speak. So, what do you think about directed energy weapons, the use of them, and you know, now this admittance that they exist?
Yeah, no, the second clip is really scary, man. It's It's concerning, dude, especially
So
going
at
forward.
one
Like,
point he says, there's no entry or exit wound. The target is made to feel like they're going crazy.
mm,
And that's done remotely. You don't even have to be in the same room.
yeah,
The capabilities that they're talking about, they're not supposed to exist
yeah,
to the public. The public would have no idea such things exist, and what capabilities that the implications that such technology, the keys that it could hold. So, what are your thoughts on the direct energy weapons?
Well, with the Ross Coulthart clip, uh, it makes me think about a lot about the evolvement of the interactions that physical UFOs and extraterrestrials have taken with us, as our technology and our weapons develop. So if we're now to where we're able to use these direct energy weapons on satellites and we're testing them, I wouldn't figure there would be any activity from these extraterrestrials, because they've realized, look, we can't even get close to this planet, guys. They've got technology all over the place. They're just going to shoot us down. Well,
Right.
50 years ago, all these crashes, there's a lot more crashes, crash retrievals, stuff
Hmm.
that we had physically were able to gather and take back and study, where now they're not even getting close. They're like, that we didn't have the capability to shoot them down. Now we've got these directed energy weapons, this technology that, in my opinion, is probably, 40 years, 30 or 40 years ahead of what we have access to. Like, they've had AI, they probably had Chat GPT like 20 years ago.
Oh
And,
yeah, DARPA had Chat GPT one probably in 1992.
yeah, but it
That's why
just,
they started with Chat GPT 3.
yeah, right. So I just think about our development technologically, and how it affects now non-human intelligence, extraterrestrials, whatever's out there in interacting with us. Now they see that, like, we're actually really a threat. Like, we have the ability to, like, take them down, kind of affect their ships or whatever their technology is. And so that might be a reason, if you look at the lack of data and evidence that we've had from Arrow, and Kirkpatrick's like, oh, there's no ETs. Well, that might be part of the reason why, is they're just not physically flying around anymore, because they can't. They'll get shot down.
Right.
Even
But
Elon Musk, Elon Musk there's been a lot of Elon Musk. Did you see where Ross Coulthart talked about Elon Musk has been read into the programs? So it's sort of like Elon Musk has publicly come out and been like, I don't have anything. But then you have Ross Coulthart saying that he does know, and he's read in, and basically probably the access that he's had to be able to launch all these Starlink satellites is because he's not saying anything. He's not showing the videos, because if their last launch, you could see video feed, and they're switching from camera to camera, and it's like 4K HD, and you're like, oh man, if they see something, it's definitely going to be captured on camera.
right, right. And what's gonna happen when commercialized space becomes a legitimate thing?
Yeah,
And Elon is sending people up with these the you know uh, you're right. It's we're coming to this pinhead, and I really I can feel us teetering on the edge of a paradigm shift,
yeah.
or this point of contact.
Mhm.
Wink, 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 wink. Inside joke. But this this moment, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I truly do think that the Brandon Fugal, that video, if it could be released and is released, I think would be a huge, huge win for the community and for everybody who's fought for disclosure, past, present, and future.
Yep. All the whistleblowers, all the people that have come in and been witnesses, right? Like, people who have come forward to Congress already with the congressional hearings with Grush, Fravor, and Graves. everybody that's come forward in the past couple of years, and even back to 2017, all of this would gain a lot more credibility if the main person opposing it was just, was bullshitting this whole time. And he's actually acknowledged the reality of the UFO phenomenon years ago, before he even took the job at Arrow. I think that would just throw a total wrench in everything, and that would be to me, that would be the biggest win for disclosure so far.
Yeah, and the skeptics who have used
Yep.
Kirkpatrick as a kind of a like they ride his wave tail, his wake with whatever he says, right? Because he's a scientist, he's he's credible, he's he's was tasked with figuring this out, got all the accesses he needed. So it would really make the skeptics and the debunkers kind of take a step back and maybe reevaluate some of what they thought was the truth.
Yeah.
And I think, like I've said in the past, we're taught to believe that there's either black or there's white. It's not only until you get into this where you find that there's so much gray. And Astral, thank you for being here tonight, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the invite. Always a pleasure, dude.
Yeah, and where can people continue the conversation with you? Where can they what's going on in your life?
Yeah. I'll just throw out a couple projects that I'm working with. Obviously, Need to Know, I just came on as producer. I'm super excited to just go forward with those. Just being in the room with those guys while they're talking is humbling. It's incredible. I'm also working on a project called the Echo Project with my good friend Jared, who we're building, and we've built tech sets, which is basically measurement devices and technology that experiencers can wear when they go out to make contact and do CE5 and heist. So we're sending out tech sets. Tech sets, and we're looking for experiencers that have this type of phenomenon to reach out to us. That's echo-project.org if you want to learn some more information. I'm also doing, still doing Twitter Spaces. I feel like just from some of the contacts that I have, that there's going to be some funding opportunities coming up for content creators, filmmakers, space hosts, podcast. I think that one of the things that's been sorely lacking is funding within the community. So basically, it's only been Bigelow and Fugal, but I think people are coming in and they're seeing, either from the crypto communities or other communities that, that this is a very interesting field. They just need help to get real research done, because a lot of people have 9 to 5s. They don't have that availability to put in the time to really dig into this topic and do real research. So I think funding opportunities are going to come. I'm always hosting spaces, getting the discussion going on Twitter. You can find me at my Twitter handle at @the_astral_, and I'm hosting remote viewing spaces, always doing some psychic stuff and psychic projects. So that's just a little bit of what I'm going on. Yeah.
I love what you do, man. I love what you do. And we are so looking forward to the next time that we get to talk. And one of these days, we're gonna meet up, man. And it's gonna be a rip roaring time. And we just want to say thank you for being here tonight, brother.
Thank you, bro. Later, guys.
All right. So with that being said, guys, on to the next. All right, guys. Recently, I had whistleblower Michael Herrera on the podcast. He told a story, his experience in Indonesia with the Marine Corps, where he was overtaken by some military or some unmarked military men. Well, they were clearly military, I should say. They were unmarked, all black, all dressed in black. There was a UFO in the distance, and they were conducting some sort of operation. They were disarmed, or not disarmed, but they were basically disarmed. And you can find his testimony, I'll put the link for that podcast in the description below. However, guys, so there has been a new development in that story. Michael's platoon leader has come out. Now, the platoon leader is opposing Michael's testimony. So I just want to warn you that there is conflict here. I've talked to Michael Herrera. I have not been able to get in touch with platoon leader Nathaniel. However, from what Michael is telling me is that I'll tell you after we play the videos from the Vetted podcast. But Vetted podcast had on the platoon leader, a platoon leader. We are not exactly sure if he was actually on the Indonesia trip. We don't know if he was the team leader for that mission. There are a lot of details that are still missing. So right now it's really testimony versus testimony, and story versus story. But we did cover the initial story and Michael's story. So I do feel the need that we need to present all sides. So here's the first clip.
With the help of Joey Is Not My Name, who was an independent investigator looking into Michael's case, I was able to get an interview with Nathan. He even agreed to go on camera, show his face. Now let me mention that Nathan has never done an interview before this. So what you'll see later in this video has never been presented about Michael Herrera's story. So they let him back in after that?
Yeah, they still got to get their time.
When you're first introduced to Michael, he's already had this history of missing a deployment. Mm-hmm. And he's showing up wanting to kind of be treated like, I'm not a new guy, I've been around the block. But you're like, you actually haven't been on a deployment, so you're technically new, right? Essentially.
Yeah, that's just how it works. Like, also, no one's going to look favorably on you if you ran away from a deployment. So you show up to me and it's like, great, now I have the problem child. And he thinks we're buddies because at one point we were in the same peer group. So it was a weird thing.
So you're his team leader. How do you become a team leader, and how big is the team?
Yeah, 18 months by the time I got out, months at a time, you just float around.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have way too much time on, got on the helicopters. We flew in. That's the one in 18 months by the time I got out. So
what does a typical day of humanitarian aid work look like? Like, what are you doing exactly? Like, what does that look like?
Well, that's the one and only humanitarian mission I ever did.
What does a typical day of humanitarian aid work look like? Like, what are you doing exactly? Like, what does that look like?
Well, so we didn't even have a big role. We just, from what I remember, we got on the helicopters, we flew in, I think we brought them shovels and food, and we landed, and I confirmed it because I have these photos are floating around that I've seen on all these things that they come from me. And it had collapsed. And I remember they said, oh, that's like the school. And there's people still in there. And I was like, oh, Jesus. And I was like, I just remember thinking, I don't know how you're going to move that. Like, that's one of the pictures. I was drinking a coconut. So this little kid, we all just stood there staring up. And I've seen it on some of these people send me photos of the LZ. And I'm like, I was standing in that corner. That's the big ass tree. He hacked him down. We had some coconuts and we took off a little while later.
Coming in on choppers. So your guys' base camp.
So sorry about the editing. I must not have caught that little fast forward thing. But we're going to keep going.
It doesn't show any guns, anything, because you guys are going for humanitarian aid. So
yeah, that's another thing people get stuck up on is weapons, right? He said we have weapons. So we went in, best of my recollection, we went in day 2, right? By this time, when we went in, we had already been told, you are not bringing rifles. You're not bringing weapons because that looks bad. Everyone's taking photos. And why does a guy have an M16 taking a knee in front of a bunch of locals that need shovels? It just doesn't look good. So what I remember was, I think it was grapevine rumor stuff. Some Air Force colonel in charge of stuff said, get back on, don't bring that crap back. And it kind of fits. I've seen photos of the 9th where they have weapons or combat load. And I recognize one of the guys, he was a different platoon. It makes sense. They went in the first day. Day 2 comes around. My platoon goes in. By this time, there's no rifles. And when you tell Marines going to Indonesia, because they gave us like information, way up north, there's a lot of terrorism in this. So, young Marines are like, gotta have my guns, right? Gotta bring your rifles. Some may or may not have brought pistols in their backpacks just to protect themselves.
Got it.
So
not following any orders to do that. Just
no,
on their
that's
own
like
accord.
I'm just gonna protect myself. Put it in the backpack. That's another thing I've said to people is like, if I had a weapon, you would see it in every photo. There is not a chance in hell that weapon is coming off my body. It is just not happening. I'm just going to leave a rifle in the jungle. Oh my God. Like if someone in the military is listening, they know it's not happening.
You don't do that. Yeah, you don't do that.
And
so it's a strap. The gun has a strap. Essentially, your rifle would.
As well as we didn't have radios. That's what I heard him say. We did not have radios. You were never going anywhere without a radio. You think they're dropping Marines to walk into a jungle with no radios? I've been in plenty of jungles. You get lost in like 30 feet. You're not coming back. It's a non-starter.
Now, the only thing that's unsettling with this is the fact that they never gave us any comms. You know as well as I do how risky that is.
You didn't have any comms?
We didn't have any comms. Would have had comms, you're damn right would have called it in. Report something suspicious. Maybe get some eyes on a helo, get a hold of their call signs and try to do them fly around, and they never did. And obviously we didn't have comms to do it, but they were more occupied with what was going on behind us.
Back on the boat, where do you keep your weapons? Are you issued the weapon and it's yours to take care of at all times? Are the pistols also
like my photo with Herrera and my guy, and you see me on my photos standing there? There's nothing.
Or whatever is still the boat.
Oh yeah. So you went in once, because it's kind of like everyone gets to go in once. It's a cool little thing. Hand some stuff, come back, you get a ribbon, humanitarian. It's just they need some people to carry stuff in. It was we're just extra people at that point. The Marine infantry isn't like crushing humanitarian aid. We're just, what do you need us to do? Carry stuff? Okay, cool.
Your humanitarian day trip out, you were not with Michael.
No, I was, yeah.
Oh, you were with Michael. So you went with Michael out for this aid mission.
Yeah.
Okay, so the same mission that he says he encountered this UFO, you were with him, and that and according to your recollection, that did not happen.
It did not happen. It did not happen because I took the photo of my 2 guys, my fire team, on the helicopter going in to the humanitarian aid. He's right there. He's in the photo. There's no
Michael
weapon.
says that's not.
Oh, I know that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It did not happen because to the humanitarian aid. He's right there. He's in the photo. There's no
Michael
weapon.
says that's not him.
Oh, I know that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be a problem. But no, no one's doubted I'm his team leader, right? They know I am.
Yeah.
I'm glad 14 years ago I made the little caption of my photo. It was like the 2 devils I'm responsible for, meaning devil dogs. The 2 guys I'm in charge of. There's 2 of them, Herrera and another guy named Patrick. They're right there.
Okay, so Michael is claiming that that's not him in the photo, and that he got approached, I guess, separately at night or something to go on this separate mission. Have you ever heard of anything like that happening?
No, that didn't happen because he's the lowest of the low. He's the newest guy there. No one's going to him for any special hookup. You don't get hooked up. It's not it, and it just wouldn't happen. I'm his team leader. Like, it's just,
you know where he is at all times. What's going on?
I have to. No one goes to, come here, you want to do something? No, you got squad leaders, platoon sergeants, platoon commanders, company gunny. It doesn't work like that.
So, guys, I am I've talked, like I said, I've talked to Michael. Michael Michael has been told not to respond and to let guys like me, Joey is not my name, which is his Twitter handle, guys like us, to respond, because apparently this is Michael's side of the story. Again, just presenting both sides, not taking a stance here. I do not, I mean, because Nathan, this guy from Vetted, I mean, he seems very, very credible. And you know, just you know, sounds just as truthful as Michael did. So again, I'm kind of, you know, I'm even at a loss for words here. So I Michael says that he was not on the mission that night, and that it was a separate thing that he was asked to do. Now it is true that Michael, and he did admit it, that he did go what you would consider not AWOL, but unattended, UA, unaccounted for. And he did miss his first deployment, but that's because someone that was very close to him was very sick and passing away. So he kind of explained that side. And from the testimony that I'm gathering from Vetted, it's more or less Nathan just kind of, you know, going through his side of the story. So again, we've seen this before. Right now, until there's more evidence, it's going to stay story versus story, testimony versus testimony. The picture that Nathaniel is saying is the smoking gun. Michael says that is not him in the picture. Again, Michael says that is not him in the picture. And if you do look at pictures that are of Michael at that age, there is not too much. I wouldn't say that there's not a resemblance, but it definitely doesn't look exactly the same. But again, the pictures, you know, with the helmet on, the strap on, you know, so again, I'm just at a loss for words on this one. I'm more you know, I'm friends with Michael. I don't know Nathan. So you know, I'm gonna stick with Michael on this one as of right now, until further notice. But I do want to know what you guys think in the comments. So you know, make sure to like, make sure to share, make sure to subscribe. If you want to go a step further, guys, make sure that you join our membership. We have a couple different options. Everyone gets the same, unless you do it through the audio. Then it's just the early access. But again, it's much cheaper. So if you want to do it that way, you can. And definitely leave us a review on Apple or Spotify if that's your chosen platform. And if you're you know, listening on something else, review us there, share the show, leave a like, a comment, and all that. All I will say in lieu of all this is that as of right now, the Herrera story, what are you saying again is that Nathan was not there. Not there. There seems to be some pictures. Again, now some possible theories could be that they were there at different times. He does say that, you know, no one doubts that I'm his team leader. Why would he say that like that? It just seems like a weird thing to throw in there. There are flaws in some of Nathan's testimony when you listen through the whole podcast, which I'll link through. So there are definitely two opposing stories here, and it is going to be up to the community to discern which one is the truth until we get some more evidence. And Michael is at least promising more evidence. And to whatever credibility you give that, you give that. My name's Tyler. This has been Revamp, guys, and we are brought to you by Adentia Herbals. Now, don't forget, keep your eyes to the skies because you never know what might fly by. Adentia Herbals Biomind. Introducing the ultimate cognitive enhancement solution, Biomind. Today's video is exclusively brought to you by our sponsor, Adentia Herbals. Unlock your brain's full potential with a powerful blend of 9 meticulously selected plants and mushrooms, each backed by peer-reviewed research for their cognitive boosting benefits and safety. Adentia Herbals formula combines organic full-spectrum powders and potent standardized extracts, ensuring that you receive the optimal concentration of each ingredient's cognitive enhancing compound, carefully selecting the most desirable parts of each plant and mushroom to create a harmonious blend that supports your mental clarity and focus. But that's not all. They infuse each bottle with personal intention of improving the lives, the minds, and overall greatness of each of their customers. Because of their commitment to your well-being every step of the way, you're going to get an exclusive 25% off your order via www.adentiaherbals.com using our code Total Disclosure at checkout. All the links will be in the description or on the screen.